Okay, now I am going to discuss one of the most confusing thing in percentage. Reverse percentage or reversing a percentage. Earlier we have discussed percentage change, and percentage change we have discussed increasing a quantity by a percentage and decreasing a quantity by a percentage. These were the easier things. You were given an original value and you were supposed to either increase or decrease that value by a certain percentage. But when it comes to reversing a percentage, we are not giving the original value. We are going to give you the increased or the final value this time. For instance, I say I have $50 and it was increased by 10%. So what we are going to do, we are going to calculate 10% of 50 first of all, and then whatever value we get, we are going to get that add that value with 50. For instance, I give you one more very easy example to understand. I have $50 in my pocket and those $50 were increased by 20%. So what I am going to do, I am going to calculate 20% of 50, which is 10. And then I know that I had $50 earlier, which were increased by 20%. So the increased amount is $10. $50 I already had. Now $50 is increased by $10, 20%. $10. 50 plus 10 now becomes 60. Now I have $60 with me. This is the new value that I now have. Original value was 50. An increase of 20% was there, which means $10 were increased. So my new value became $60. Now I have $60 in my pocket, which is a new value. For instance, I want you to reverse this applied percentage. This 20% was applied on my original value, which was 50. On 50, I applied 20%, I got 10, and the final value or the new value came out to be 60. Now if I ask you to reverse this change in percentage, I ask you to give me my original value back, then am I going to decrease that new value, which was 60, by 20%, or am I going to do something else? I would suggest that you try this question yourself. That first of all, I had $50, I increased $50 by 20% and I got to 60. And when I ask you to give me my original value back, so should I take 20% of that 60 and then subtract it from 60 to get to 50, or is there a different way of doing it? Anyways, coming back to reverse percentage or reversing a percentage which was applied by either increasing a quantity or by decreasing a quantity. I increase a quantity by a given percentage or I decrease a quantity by a given percentage, I get to a new value. And when I ask you to give me my original value back from that new value using the percentage relation, then this procedure is called reversing the percentage. Reversing the percentage may have three different categories or three different kind of situations. First one is simple percentage reverse or simple reverse percentage. For instance, I say 30% of students in a class are girls, which are, let's say, 30% of students in a class are girls, and that is also 30. Okay, let me just change this a little, change the numbers a little so that there is no confusion. I am saying 30% of students in a class are girls, which is 9. So the number of girls in the class are 9, and that makes 30% of the whole strength. So I have given you number of girls and the percentage that they make into the whole value. So 30% girls means 9 girls. I am saying how many students are there all together involving both girls and both girls and boys. Okay, so this is the situation. I am not going to discuss the situation right now in this video. I am just going to discuss what is reverse percentage and how many categories are there. So in simple percentage, in simple reverse percentage, I give you a quantity and the percentage of that quantity, and then I can ask you the total quantity or the quantity of the other value, percentage of the other value. That is one case. I'll discuss this in my upcoming video. Other case could be involving a decrease. For instance, I say my salary at a place is $500. For instance, I am working at a place and I am getting $500 daily, monthly, weekly, whatever. And for some reason, my salary was decreased, my income was decreased by 10%. So consider this situation. There was 10% deducted from my salary this week, and I got $450. $450 is the deducted amount, is the new amount that I have got after 10% was reduced. So 10% was reduced or deducted from my salary, and I got $450 in my hand. What is my original salary? Is that okay? So this situation involves a decrease. I decreased my original value or my actual salary by 10%, and the new amount or the amount that I was given was 450. This is the new value. My original value is something else that I am not telling you. My new value is now 450, which I got after decreasing the original value by 10%. So now in this situation, I want you to find out what could be my original salary. So you see that original value was something else, that value was decreased by 10%, and I got a new amount which was 450. For instance, next month or maybe next week, my organization decides to deduct 20% of my salary. They deduce 20% of my salary and give me $400. If I get $400 after 20% deduction, so again this 400 is the new value. Some original value was there which was reduced by 20%. Now I want you to find out how much of my salary has been deducted. How much was my original salary? Is that okay? And then the third case involving an increase. There was a certain value, that value was increased by 20%, and the new value came out to be 600. A value was increased by 20%, or I say my salary was increased by 20%, and the amount that I now got is 600. So if I am getting 600 after an increase of 20%, so my question is, what was my original salary? So in these two things, percentage increase or percentage decrease, you are always given the original value, and then you either increase that value or decrease that value, and you get the new value. But when we give you a situation of reversing a percentage, we always give you a new value, and for that new value you either have to go through this, or maybe this, or maybe this. See, so in these situations you cannot just reverse the value by just deducting the percentage which you had applied to increase or decrease amount. In reversing the value, the situation is going to be a little different. In my upcoming videos, I will be discussing these things very briefly, one of these things very briefly, and then inshallah we'll move to the next topic after the next video. Okay? I hope you have understood reversing a percentage, or what is reversing a percentage mean, and how we are going to deal with it, or at least how we are not going to deal with it. because what my purpose is of discussing this thing is this. Okay, if I'm increasing 50 by 20% and getting 60, and for some reason I want you to revert it back to the original amount, so you are not going to just reverse 60 by 20%. It's a different procedure which I'll be discussing in the next video. I hope by the end of this video you at least know what is reversing a percentage and what should not be done, at least what should not be done to reverse a percentage. What should be done, that I will discuss in the upcoming video, but at least you should know when I have given you a new value and I want you to revert it to the previous one, so you are not going to do it the way I have discussed in the current video. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much.